Good evening. My name is Kelly Carroll, and I have the pleasure of chairing Bennington's Community Policing Advisory Review Board. Today is Thursday, March 21st, 2024. It's 6:00 p.m., and we are in the Bennington Fire Facility in the multi-purpose room on the 3rd floor at 130 River Street. Will, can you read the town vision statement? Oh, sorry. Before I go, my name is Kelly. I'd like to ask the rest of the board to introduce themselves, starting with
Scott Richmond.
Will Greer.
Vicki Lamprin.
Kate Cost.
And also with us tonight, we have our select board liaison, Tom Haley, and Jim Byers from CAT TV. So thank you very much. Now, Will, would you read the vision statement, please?
Vision statement for the town of Bennington. Bennington is a welcoming, engaged, inclusive, and resilient. Bennington is a welcoming, engaged, inclusive, and resilient community where everyone, regardless of identity, shares in our vitality and benefits from an outstanding quality of life. Thank you.
Next, we have the consent agenda, which consists of the February meeting minutes. So for purpose of discussion, can I get a motion to discuss, accept?
I move to accept the agenda and the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay. For the consent of agenda. Okay. Thank you. The February minutes were distributed earlier. So for the, they were distributed for purposes of discussion. Can I get a motion to accept or amend?
I will make a motion to amend to ensure that the honorifics for all of our members are correctly identified for them. There was, someone had pointed out that that needed to be addressed. So I'll make note of that and send them again to Beth.
Okay. And then also, I believe the date for the meeting should be the 21st and not the 14th or 15th, which was in there.
Okay, I'll make that adjustment as well.
All right. So can I get a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
I move to approve the minutes as amended.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Next on the agenda is public comment. And we did not have anybody that signed up for public comment. So before we go on to our first agenda item behind that, is there anybody else that would like to speak? Okay. So next on our agenda is the Bennington Police Department update, and we have Bennington Police Chief Paul Doucette here with us. So Chief, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me again this month. Just want to go over a couple things with everyone about some things going on at the office and talk to you about some staffing changes. We recently hired an officer. His name is Sean Summers. He started with us last week. This is week 2 for him. He's currently working with our field training officers, and he's, 1 week. He's doing well, and we look forward to his continued success at the Bennington Police Department. Part-time officer Shaden Masso did end up leaving the police academy this session for some personal reasons. He is much better and his health has improved. He's back to work with us. We are very thankful for that, and he has a continued drive to continue on with the Bennington Police Department, and we have him scheduled for the 118th basic session, so he'll be going back to the police academy now that he's feeling better. We also have Allison Farney, who has her health has improved as well from an injury that she sustained in the 116th basic class. As you all know, she had to leave the academy with 1 week left, and due to an injury that she sustained at the academy, she is doing miraculously well, following up on her situation, which we won't get into details on. Met with her today, and I've been in touch with the academy, and we're hoping that she'll be joining the current 117th class to finish what she was not able to finish with the 116th. So it's a never-ending project for us with our staffing issues, but I'm glad that our people are doing well, and we'll be able to drive forward. Some of the other changes I want to just tell you about is we did switch the patrol division to a 12-hour schedule. That seems to be going fairly well. The start and stop times have changed for the officers. The day team comes in at 5 a.m. and works till 5 p.m. And the evening team comes in and works 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. It's definitely a morale booster. The shift schedule allows the officers to have more time with their families, and they get every other weekend off. And we're doing our best not to order people to come to work. Right now we're able to sustain the 12-hour shifts, and so that's going well also. I will also share with you, it is a staffing change and update. We are very, very close to adding a four-legged friend to the department. I will share with you his name next month and explain the meaning behind his name. And he is doing very well also. He is still with the breeder and up north in Sutton, Vermont, and she is working with him, Officer Morawski and Gracie. Gracie went up to meet her new partner, and we're very excited about this, and we'll get into more of that next month, and you may even get to meet him next month. Maybe we'll bring him by. He's just a little tyke at this point, and we're trying to keep him with his mother for the full 12-week cycle, just for nurturing and things like that. But Officer Morawski went up with Gracie. They took him out. He met a horse and a goat and some other farm animals, and I have plenty of pictures, plenty of video, and he's just, I don't know, I know all puppies are cute, and kids are cute too when they're little, but this is very promising for us, and we're very excited. So we're going to deviate just a little bit from this. I just want to remind everybody that we are fundraising for our canine program, spearheaded by the VFW post here in Bennington, and we talked about it last month. We're very excited. We're getting very close to our fundraising event. So our fundraising event is on the 12th of April. It's a Friday night, and there's a little murder mystery. If you look on the internet, you might find some videos of what I used to look like when I was in high school and had hair. Just saying, you got to look for it. And the VFW has been very, very supportive. Also on the 11th of April, there'll be a fundraising event for the canine program as well, and there'll be more details posted about that. So it's really a two-day event, the 11th and the 12th. The 12th tickets are going fast. I think there's probably less than 10 tickets left available for sale. You can stop by the Bennington Police Department, or you can go down to the VFW and grab a ticket if you're interested. There's also going to be a basket raffle. There's just all sorts of neat things going on, and we appreciate the support from the VFW. We appreciate the support from the community as well that have been sending donations. We've even received donations from other communities, not just in Bennington. So we're pretty happy about that, and So I just want to share with you. I want to share with you the 2023 training. It is on the agenda here, and I think it's important that the members of the Community Policing Advisory Review Board, as well as the community and the people here in the audience, know that what our training levels were like in 2023. So in 2023, all members of the Bennington Police Department, which includes our sworn staff and our civilian staff, as well as a couple of people that moved on and either left law enforcement or went to another agency, we had a total of 4,807.95 hours of training in 2023. That training, as we've instructed all of you in your CPARB training with us, does include all of the mandatory required training for law enforcement officers that's required by the Vermont Criminal Justice Council. At the same time, the officers are allowed to request training on their own as long as it benefits the officer and the Bennington Police Department. We've talked about that. But I brought with me tonight specifics of training that officers attended in 2023. And there's a lot here. I mean, 4,807 hours is a lot, and I've brought this with me, and I can certainly leave this with you, Kelly, if you want to share this with the board at some point. We did redact the names of the officers off the top of the sheet, as well as social security numbers, but it's important that you really take a look at this and you look and see what some of the officers have done. If you come across a sheet that only has limited hours on it, it means that they are a civilian employee and they're not required to have the 30 hours of mandatory training minimum, or someone that has opted to leave the Bennington Police Department for whatever reason. So, but there's a lot of things. If you take a look at this, you'll see that there's a lot of topics that are covered, I want to answer any and all questions that any of you might have about our training. I will also share with you that this year we've started off very well, 2024 with training. Lieutenant Randy and I just completed the FBI Regional Command College last week. In fact, down in Chatham, Massachusetts, we applied and were accepted with approximately 98 other law enforcement officials from all over New England, and with that, we spent 4 days training down in Chatham, Massachusetts, and there was a total of 7 people that applied. I don't know how many people applied, but there were 7 people from Vermont that were accepted, and the training was absolutely phenomenal, as it normally is at an FBI Regional Command College. Lieutenant Randy and I also attended the Cultural Diversity Institute taught by FBI LEDA a few weeks back since our last meeting, and that was down in Jupiter, Florida, and that was phenomenal. And we are currently working on a program to instruct Town of Bennington staff as well, and probably will bring that training to boards and commissions for anybody that serves for the Town of Bennington. We're thinking that will be early summer before we're able to put all of that together. So a lot of times what we find is our people go off to training and they bring back ideas, and we put them to use. This isn't as simple as going off to training and just checking the box. And we felt, and Lieutenant Randy is here, we felt that the Cultural Diversity Institute was phenomenal. It was 4 days of training, and the days flew by. And we're very excited to report out. First, we're going to start with the town manager and the department heads, and then move on, hopefully, to all Town of Bennington employees, and bring back and present some of the things that we either learned, already knew about, but think that we need to share with our staff, and then again, boards and commissions. So With that being said, I would entertain any questions about training or anything else that we have going on, with the exception of our new four-legged friend's name.
Thank you, Chief. I don't have any questions on the training at this time. Does anybody else? Lindsay, Scott? Tom? Okay. All right.
Okay.
4,807 hours is impressive, though. I think that's important. So.
That's approximately 35 people. And, you know, some people have, you know, again, some people have far more hours than others. It depends on what their certification levels are and things like that. Because, you know, if you're an instructor in certain topics, every 2 years you have to go for, you have to have instructor level classes on that topic. And then you have to go back and, like with firearms and things like that, you have to prove proficiency, you know, at the academy. We did in 2023, Lieutenant Grandy was able to secure a couple of spots at the academy for defensive tactics instructors. So we have 2 defensive tactics instructors now. And then in addition to that, they received training from the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center as well. So, you know, that's not something at the age of 55 that I would enjoy going to, because they really do, you know, they practice their defensive tactics on one another. And so really when you look at that, we want our people to be the best instructors that they can be. And the good news is with Lieutenant Grandy's abilities, he was able to find that FLETC training at no cost, and it was a 2-week training. We didn't go because it was free. We went because it was good training, and it's good to have that certification level. So, you're welcome.
Tortoise, if you can just come up.
Could you give a few examples, a few examples of the impact that having been trained made in the officers' interactions with the community?
Oh, absolutely. You know, if you take a look at some of the trainings that were attended by members of the Pennington Police Department. This is just, I randomly selected one. This is just an example. Anti-bias police training, there's 2 phases to that. Total is just over 2 hours of training. It also, we did a lot with, when I say a lot, we did a lot of training this year with the Bennington Rescue Squad to interact with people with mental health issues, as well as physical injuries and things of that nature, teaching the officers how to interact with, again, people that are injured and applying first aid while we wait for the rescue squad. There was motivational interviewing and communicating appropriately with people. And again, that's just one sheet, one officer. There's just, yeah, there was a lot assisting the officers to learn how to deal, again, with people with mental health issues, people that are injured, and things of that nature, since we always seem to be one of the first people that responds and it arrives on scene first.
Tortoise, I just need you to go back up and identify, please.
What I was hoping for is, you're saying there was a time when there was a guy, or there was a family, or there were some people, and we interacted with them in a different way because of the training that we had had?
I guess I'm not clear on what you're asking me. I'm sorry.
You're not going to name any names, of course, but when you're talking about, it's still all from the side of the training that you got. I'm trying for the other side of it, that there was a scene, and then you came there, or an officer came there, and what they were able to do that was different because of the training that they had had, that where the outcome was benefited.
Oh, okay, I think I got this. So basically, as I said, responding to people with mental health issues, people that are requiring assistance that are not physically injured. The officers receive training on how to deal with people that are in a mental health crisis situation, and learning to communicate with them, and learning what triggers them, learning what could calm them down and get them to either walk to the police car for a transport to the office to meet with a mental health crisis person, or go up to the emergency department instead of placing people in wrist restraints and things like that when they don't need to be in wrist restraints. Does that make sense?
I can't.
I think.
Maybe I'm not clear on.
Yeah, I think what, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tortoise, but
sorry.
I think one example could be, because you can't really get into specifics or something, but let's say the training that you had with the Bennington Rescue Squad, for when you're first on the scene. The impact would be, to me, as maybe a victim of a car accident with an injury, knowing that somebody's there maybe with a tourniquet or to help with some basic life-saving, so that I'm not waiting another 2, 3, or 4 minutes before rescue can get there. I think sometimes with some of the training, it might be hard to quantify. Other than with maybe going out one-on-one and speaking with people, which is something that we're hoping to do. But I think that what she's asking for is like the new K-9. The impact for the community would be if somebody's missing, we have another resource closer, in addition to Gracie, if it's off hours or a different hour, without having to wait a half an hour for another K-9 to come in from another. But it's hard to mention specifics like that without specific names and cases.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I
think that's what you're asking, something like that.
I'll figure out how to say it better if another chance comes up.
Okay, you have all the chances you want with me. Okay, I think too, with the way you've explained it as well, Kelly, is we've opened up a whole bunch of possibilities with our community partners and our new community partners. As an example, with Project Alliance, I know you and Will were both there today. There was some great conversation about the way the Bennington Police Department interacts with some of these agencies, and how we're still going to continue to improve that and improve those relationships, so we can get people the services that they need without having to involve too deeply the police. We all heard, for the people that were there today, we heard Jim Baker talk about how the police don't need to be involved in a lot of things that we're responding to. And at the same time, I think in the next couple of months, Project Alliance has been around now for a year, and I think that we're making great strides with Project Alliance, and we're seeing some improvements in the way certain things are handled in Bennington as far as mental health issues and people in need of services, and we'll leave it at that, services. And not only that, but also trying to deal with violent crime and addiction, opiate addiction, and things like that. So I personally think is a way to go a little bit further with that. I think there's been some great strides made, and I'm not here to promote Project Alliance one way or the other, but it goes along with some of the things that Lieutenant Randy specifically and other members of the department and members of CPARB have been able to accomplish over the last year. So I think that's important. We definitely have just to touch on it, I think we definitely have a wonderful relationship with Projects Against Violent Encounters as well, not just because Lindsay's here. We're working on some stuff with them as well. And I just think, if you look back over the last couple of years, we were doing things fairly well, but now we're doing things much better. And a lot of that comes down to some of the training that we've received and being involved with our community partners and understanding what we're all responsible for and how we can help one another, if that makes sense.
There is one training that I do want to, just thinking about what Tortoise had said with impacts on the community. When you were talking and doing your budget presentation, there had been a question about training cost, and there had been a question about one line item on the budget that had decreased. And you're going to definitely have to correct me. But it had to do with some type of analysis or processing that some of the officers went for training and they were now able to do it without sending, maybe it was evidence or something, out to VSP. And that line item actually decreased because the officers had training and were able to do that in-house as opposed to charging the taxpayers for sending it out to VSP or the FBI, and I can't remember the exact line item, but I remember Shirley asked the question.
So if my memory serves me correctly, we were talking about the decrease in that line because we were sending for fiscal year 2025, because in 2024, we were sending people off to be able to become crime scene or evidence technicians. Yeah. Depends on what we, how you want to word that. But, and in fact, that has happened since our last meeting. And the 2 officers did go off to training, and we would like to send 2 more before the end of this fiscal year. And that's why the line for 2025 went down, is because we were going to spend that money and we were going to be able to do some things in-house, versus calling other people. And it was definitely going to save us time. We love the Vermont State Police. We get along very well. But when we assemble their crime scene team and get their evidence technicians together, we might be waiting anywhere from 5 to 7 hours, 5 to 8 hours for them to roll up. And we have purchased our own tools, and we have sent people off to training, and so we're confident that we're going to be self-sufficient in that by July 1st of this year. That's just one example. I also think that you're thinking about when Mr. Haley spoke about we asked for money. Our line had been cut in our training before it got to the select board. I was not happy about that. And Mr. Haley said, well, you didn't spend all your money last year. That's why it got cut. And we, with staffing issues, we weren't able to send people to training. This year, we're doing far better with that. We're able to send people off to training, and the select board was gracious enough to put that $3,500 back in for fiscal year 2025. We are going to be going through a promotional process. I think the lieutenant stood up because I left that part out as far as staffing goes, and it just kind of refreshed my memory when we're talking about that, because people that are promoted are going to have to go off to supervisory training as well, and that's why I wanted that money back in for fiscal year 2025. So I just wanted to touch on the training part of things and make sure that we all have the same recollection of what happened at the budget meeting. But we are very close to going through a promotional process, and again, people that get promoted are going to have to go off to training. So it's important that we have that money available, and we do.
Any other questions for the chief? Okay, 1 second, Mary. Let me just get that. Oh.
I just think it's important to point out that while there haven't been a lot of specific questions, you just brought the information to the board tonight that you said you were going to give to Kelly and that she could disseminate it. They may have questions about that information once they've had a chance to look at it. Of course, you'll be available to come back and answer more specific questions.
Well, of course.
At a later point.
Seems like we meet every month, Mr. Haley.
All right. Hi.
Sarah Beth Ward, Bennington. I don't know if this is the correct time to bring this subject up, but Genesis is now going to become, from what I hear, iCare, which is going to be taking care of a different population that's up there right now. And I'm sure you've thought about this. Do you feel as if that's going to strain your police department, or do you feel like you possibly may be having to go up there frequently? I've been following closely Hampstead Hospital in New Hampshire, and they're saying their fire department is strained, their police department is strained, and I have a fear that you may be strained because of what type of population may be placed there.
I think I can answer that, if you don't mind. So I will share with you that we have been communicating with iCare. Lieutenant Grandy and I have had meetings with them via Zoom. They've been very good about communicating with the town staff, and we have looked into some of their facilities, not in Hampstead, New Hampshire, but down in Connecticut, and we do know that they are going to have people at their facility that are currently supervised by the Vermont Department of Corrections. And my understanding is that these people should not be a problem for us. They are people that are, it was explained to us that they are very ill or perhaps end of life, and that they need care that is not able to be provided as well at the correctional facilities as it would be at this facility. They also tell us that people will not be going out unsupervised. We have spoken to them about their security protocols and things of that nature, and I'm confident at this point through our meetings that we will have a good working relationship with them, and we will, I will be, if you don't know me by now, I will be very straightforward with you and the rest of this community if things don't go as they are planned. But at this point, I'm not worried about our department being strained.
But it's not just the correctional people that are up there, it's also people with severe mental illnesses.
Correct.
Now, I know there's a meeting coming up April 1st, and we can probably get more of our questions answered. And it's good to know that you've been in contact with them and, up on what's going on there. But it just seems as if, are you going to be hiring extra officers if you need more staff? I mean, if you're up there frequently, if there's a lot of calls for you to go up there?
Yeah,
is it in the budget to?
I think that's something that we're going to have to address. I mean, I know that there are people that are looking forward to the meeting on April 1st, and I think we'll get more answers there.
Will you be there?
Either I'll be there or Lieutenant Grandy will be there. Straight up, I did before I knew the meeting was on April 1st. I did take time off for personal reasons to take care of some things involving my dad. But I'm sure that Lieutenant Grandy will stay in touch with me that week, and we'll go from there. But as of right now, they've been very forthcoming with answers to our questions, and I think that they want to be good community partners with us, and if it does become a problem, then we're going to have to address that. So, sorry I don't have more answers for you, but we're just in the beginning.
I'm glad that they have communicated with you. I just wish that they had communicated more with the public about what's going on there.
And I think that's something that can be brought up at the meeting. And I know that there are some people that live in the area there that are concerned. And I look forward to what happens on the meeting April 1st. I just don't have the answers that you're looking for. Sorry. You're welcome.
I just want to make sure that everyone knows that the meeting that they're speaking about is April 1st at 5:30 p.m. It's a Monday night. It's going to be right here in this room. The interim commissioner for the Department of Aging and Independent Living will be here, as well as representatives from iCare are supposed to be here. So if somebody does have questions, I would encourage you to come here at 5:30 on April 1st and ask them, because that's the best way to get your answers is to actually.
Going to be streaming it live also.
Oh, and Cat TV will be streaming it live, so thank you for that. So yeah, April 1st at 5:30 right here for answers. So thank you.
Thanks.
Very much. All right. Next on our agenda is a follow-up for the town survey results. Last month, when we had talked about the town survey, there were a couple of other questions, so Kate has put together a couple of tables, and I'm going to ask Kate to talk. Oh, you know what? I skipped.
You skipped some stuff.
Did you want to go back or do you want me to go? Either way is fine.
I have it in the other order. I'm sorry. I had the wrong order on my other sheet. Next on the agenda is the complaint review process. So the board members all have that. It was posted on our website in the packet. This is the process that we will be going through when we get some complaints. So I want to know if there's any questions. This was drafted by Meryl, who is the town attorney. And we will be going back with her to try to set up a meeting for some further clarification. But I wanted to know if anyone on the board had any questions about the process that I could bring back to Meryl. So for the institution of the complaint, 2 ways a complaint can be brought to CPARB, either directly by a citizen complaint form or made through the Bennington Police Department. So any comments or questions on that first section? All right. The review of the complaints. On an ongoing basis, the Chief of Police will compile a statistical summary of all complaints investigated, which will include a list of all complaints initiated through the BPD and the status of each complaint. And CPARB, through its chairperson, may request to review any such complaint or incident. Upon such request, the Chief of Police will promptly provide CPARB with all of the information gathered in the course of its investigation. CPARB will review the provided materials in accordance with its mandate. Following its review, CPARB will share its impressions with the Chief of Police. There are also copies in the back too, unless doing so in an executive session is warranted, which most time will not be the case. Okay. Any questions or concerns on the review of complaints? Okay.
Question. First of all, it's compile was all complaints investigated, not all complaints. What's the difference between
I can ask Meryl that too. Oh.
I can answer that.
Okay.
So complaints that are investigated would be an internal affairs investigation complaint. And that is the purpose of, or one of the purposes of the Community Policing Advisory Review Board is to review the investigation, the complaint and the investigation. At times, we receive complaints about someone. I'll give you a great example. Someone receives a parking ticket and they call and complain that they received a parking ticket, and we have a process for that. It's called the parking ticket appeal form, and they fill that out, and the form is reviewed with by the chief, myself, and I speak to the officer about the parking ticket. It is a complaint that they they don't feel as though they should have gotten the parking ticket or what have you. So there's an appeal process for that. That type of complaint does not need to be reviewed by the Community Policing Advisory Review Board. Just because we're coming out of it on April 1st, a great example is an all-night parking ticket, winter parking ban violation, $25 fine. People park their vehicle on the street and the officer issues them a ticket. There are people that feel as though they should get a warning the first time. Very hard to track that. So the short version is that's not, although they're complaining about receiving the parking ticket, that's not something that we conduct an internal investigation about.
Okay.
On occasion, I've used this example before, someone gets a Vermont civil violation complaint for their vehicle not being inspected, and they want to complain and say that they should have received a warning. Well, we refer those people to the backside of the Vermont civil violation complaint, and they have the right to have a hearing and let a judicial officer decide whether they should have received the complaint or not, and what the fine will be, and things of that nature. So when it says complaints, those are sometimes things that people call and complain about, and there are other remedies other than an internal affairs investigation.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense now.
Any questions on that? Okay.
Okay. All right. Other considerations. If in its review of complaints, CPARB determines that there's confidential information that should be or should have been redacted prior to its review and or public discussion, CPARB should take measures to properly redact the information and ensure that it's not publicly disclosed. And prior to the review of any complaint, the CPARB chairperson shall ask for confirmation that none of the members present for the discussion have a conflict of interest in accordance with the Town of Bennington's conflict of interest policy. And members that do have a conflict should recuse themselves. So, any other questions on that bottom section? Okay. Any other questions around the process? Okay. All right.
Oh, I'm sorry, I do have one question. When we receive a complaint, how much in advance do we have to review it? Do we review it at the meeting? Or, I mean, just in terms of our own reading through the complaints and then asking for some clarification, or is that all done in open session? I mean, in other words, do we get the complaint while we're here at a meeting and then you have to read through it? And I'm just curious if we have a little bit of time to read it on our own and then do that. I'm not sure that that's part of that process.
That wasn't specified, so that's on my list.
Okay, all right, thank you.
The whole, how do we do that? And,
Yeah.
you know, because I'm thinking email may not be confidential.
Exactly.
Or secure, maybe that's a better term, secure. So, we'll ask.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions or concerns on the policy? Okay. Next up on the agenda is the community listening session planning. So we had, first up is a schedule. So some of the schedule that we have so far, Wednesday, May 8th, our first listening session will be at Turning Point at 5 p.m. We're planning on going to the community cafe, hopefully May 18th. I believe May 25th is Mayfest. So Tuesday on May 21st, we'll be at the Willowbrook Community Room from 1 to 2. And on Wednesday, May 29th, we'll be at Beach Court from 4 to 5. And then dates still to be determined are Brookside, Williamsack Apartments, Open Arms, I've talked with them. And then I know there's some other places that we'll work on adding to the calendar, but these are the initial dates that we have lined up so far.
Can we talk a bit about process?
Yeah, we can talk, yes.
I'm not sure how many people went to the town's listening sessions for the town plan, but I found them to be really comfortable for those people who attended them. There were tables about this size, and people just, depending upon the number of people that were there, they sat around the table. There was a facilitator and a recorder at each table. but the questions were on a large sheet of paper, maybe legal size paper, and for each question, so the people who were facilitating, they could, if they wanted to, change the sequencing of questions. So that was something that had come up at the last meeting. But the other thing that I thought was really important about that is that at the end of the discussion, as they wrapped up for each question, there was like maybe 15, 20 minutes of discussion for each question. They asked folks at the table to identify a strategic goal or a target. And given our conversation last month about the need for that, the importance of asking residents about some kind of a strategic goal for the committee, I thought that that was also a nice addition to how we've approached this so far, so that we can actually have some action items on there for each question. And so I wanted to just raise that as a process for us, because it was so comfortable for both the facilitators and the participants. And I thought that it broke down any kind of sort of artificial barrier that might be there between residents and members of the board. So I just wondered what people thought about that. How you thought that?
I think it sounds a lot like what we've talked about doing as far as, mixing some of the questions up. And we'd hope to get a takeaway from each one, so the strategic goal seems like it makes sense. So like it would be a good idea too.
I just really like the fact that it was a very comfortable setting. So rather than the folks like us sitting in the audience like we are right now, we're actually around a table.
Yeah.
And I thought that would make everybody a lot more comfortable in terms of sharing their experiences and their thoughts.
Yeah, when I think about the listening sessions and going out into the community, I envision sitting at a table, like close, not with, the board table and the space. So provided that's acceptable to the people in the listening session. So, anyone else, any questions, comments?
Were we thinking of 2 people who would sign up for each of these? Is that what the idea was? Okay.
We'll get to, I'll send it around, and then if just people can put what ones would work for them, and then we'll get 2 to 3 for each one. And we'll try to get a couple more dates before the April meeting. Okay. Any other questions?
Please, can you just give those dates again? Please.
Wednesday, May 8th,
Yep.
Turning Point from 5 to 6. Saturday, May 18th, the Community Cafe at 1:30. Tuesday, May 21st, Willowbrook Community Room from 1 to 2. And Wednesday, May 29th at Beach Court at from 4 to 5.
Go ahead.
Do you happen to know when the Bennington Community Cafe goes back outside at GPIX? In other words,
I'm not sure.
St. Peter's.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll check with them. Yeah, I'll check. I don't think that would matter for us, though.
But if anybody else from the community wanted to.
Well, we'd have to let them know where, but I think as far as for us, whether they're inside or outside, I don't,
No, I meant, I should have clarified that, sorry.
No.
The media plan will have the addresses on all of these, right?
Well, actually, that leads into the communication plan. So. Any other questions on or comments on the schedule? Oh, Doris.
Last month you talked about how many people in the community don't know what CPARB is or does, and talked about perhaps having a statement that you could sort of introduce the session. I'm just wondering if you're how far along you are in that process.
And that leads us into the communication plan. Scott?
So, okay, Jeff, who's in here tonight, and I met with Jonah, and we kind of came up with a little plan of how to attack that issue. On April 8th, there's going to be a general article released about CPARB, who we are, what we do. Then on April 24th, we're going to do an announcement, including save the date type announcements with a full press release in the banner and on the town webpage. And then 2 days before each event, there'll be a follow-up reminder of what the event is, where it is, what time it is, any pertinent information that they need. And Jonah is going to try to do something with Cat TV on the 18th of April as well, just like a public service announcement on Cat TV, just talking about the listening sessions, what to expect, where they're going to be, and that sort of thing. So on April 8th, there should be a general article coming out on the town webpage and in the banner discussing CPARB, who we are and what we are about. So that's the communications plan so far.
And we will start each of the listening sessions with that brief statement that Jonah's working on with our questions.
Question, would it be helpful, do you think, if we had some kind of a flyer at each location so that the people who attend there or live there, in the case of Willowbrook, that they will see that, because not everybody gets the banner and not everybody watches Cat TV.
Can you ask Jonah to make some flyers up, please?
Thank you.
He's really good at that too. He does a nice job with them. So he did the listening session ones in June for us. All right, any other questions or comments on the communication plan? Any other thoughts, anything that people want to add to it?
I just had one thought. Is the communication plan, is there something in there making sure it's available also in Spanish? Even if it's just like the reminders, something, so it's accessible to everyone in the community?
I'll make a note of that and talk to Jonah.
Yeah.
All right, so any other questions or comments on the listening sessions? All right, next up is the follow-up to this town survey discussion. And Kate has put together some additional tables. So Kate, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yes, yet more tables that I will forward to Jim, and they can be put up there. Last month, Jeannie asked me to do a table on the relationship that respondents had to the town of Bennington, and then how safe they felt in their neighborhood and how safe they felt in town as a whole. And I want to give a very large caveat here, is that the people who responded, if you recall, they range in age from little kids, little to 18 years old, and then all the way 65 plus, right? So if somebody lives here, I work and live here, I work here, you could see some double counting here, right? Or it's hard to tease it out, because how do you distinguish I live here from I work and live here from I work here, right? So my point is that I did not, what you're going to see on Cat TV, is that I did not try to tease out all the different levels. So overall, 52.6% of folks felt safe in their neighborhood, in their immediate neighborhood. Interestingly, there were responses in each of these categories of just I work here. Does that make sense? So the responses are, I live here, I work and live here, I work here. In each of those cases, you've got responses. So there are responses from people who say they just work here about the neighborhood they live in. Okay. So it's limited in terms of what we can, what our takeaways are. And that's why I didn't go beyond just proportions. So there's 14 excuse me, my voice is funny tonight. There's 14.3% who feel unsafe overall. Okay? So in the same way that if you, hang on, well, yeah. Same thing then. What's interesting is we found, if you recall from last month, there were a higher number of people, I shouldn't say higher, there were less people who felt safe in their neighborhood in all ages, and less people who felt unsafe in their town as a whole, rather than in their neighborhood. So overall, people felt more safe in their neighborhood than in town as a whole. That is the same case here. There's only 31.7% of all those folks who feel safe in town. And there's 30.7% of people who feel unsafe in town. So what we don't know is, how do they define town? Are they talking about town like out in the Walmart area? Are they talking about town downtown? Are they talking about town around Depot Street? What are they talking about? We don't know that. And I think, so for us going to our listening sessions, it might be helpful for us to try to tease some of that out. Okay? And then, so are there any questions about that? I hope it wasn't too confusing.
Kate, one clarification I just wanted to make is the question doesn't say how safe do you feel in the neighborhood you live in. It says how safe do you feel in your immediate neighborhood. So I would assume for the people that work here, that would be their work neighborhood, but that's just my assumption.
Yeah, I mean, it might be. Any other thoughts on this? Okay. Then Kelly had asked if I would do ages, breakdown by age, of whether the respondent owns or rents their home, okay? And so, again, we've got, I would imagine we've got double counting, because it's very unlikely that a 10-year-old would own their own home, right? So, but they live with their parents who might have their own home. So, because we've got all these ages, again, I did not tease out each by age or proportion or any of that, but about 75% of folks own their own home own their own home in Bennington, okay? Which I suppose is not surprising, given the current state of the housing stock, and that one of the issues that are come up a lot for us is that there's not enough rentals. Okay. And then what I did is I looked at whether or not the respondent owns or rents their home and how safe they felt in their immediate neighborhood, because that might be a different kind of experience as well. And so for owners, 56% feel safe, about 12.5% feel unsafe. But for renters, only 41 or 42%, 41.9, so 42% feel safe compared to that 56. And for renters, almost 20%, 19.9% feel unsafe. So that tells us something, again, about where rentals are available and in terms of their neighborhoods. So, questions about that? No? It's pretty
I think it'll be
I think it'll be interesting to see some of the hotspot data
Yeah,
that Project
absolutely.
Alliance has been talking about and see where that, because that's going to be by address.
Absolutely.
And that might help. with some stuff.
Unless there's anything else that people can determine from the town survey data that would be relevant to our work, I think we've kind of exhausted what we can get out of the town data for us. But I'm open if somebody has a recommendation or wants me to do something further.
I think it's important to get those questions into the listening session about safety. Neighborhoods and stuff at least as a point of hopefully data collection and some more details.
Well, it'll certainly add to our understanding, and that's in the direction where we want to go for further programming or further listening sessions. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments on the survey? Okay. So next on the agenda is upcoming agenda items. Bruce Lee Clark will be here with us at our April 18th meeting. He will be doing a training for us on facilitating a listening session. And I think it'll be a perfect time to bring up some of those observations from the planning sessions that you went to go. I think that's a great opportunity. I'll have a follow-up to the complaint process review after hopefully speaking with Merrill. And any other upcoming agenda items anyone would like to talk about getting on?
Is it possible that the facilitator could include some information on implicit bias so that when we do our facilitating, we don't accidentally, either through the use of language or attitude or whatever, offend somebody in the audience?
I can ask. I'll ask that.
All right, thank you.
And if not, we'll just see if we can get something and else for training on that. That's a great point.
That might be helpful for us as we try to engage folks at the tables. Yeah, thanks.
All right. Anything else?
We'll have to have an update on the communications plan based on the request from.
Yeah, we'll have another update on the listening session.
Okay.
Anyway, update on that. Any announcements anyone needs to make? All right. The only announcement I was going to make was about the K-9 fundraising program for Mullet Fest. The VFW has pledged $7,500 and has challenged the community to match that for the K-9 fund. So that's going to be going on April 11th and 12th. They're looking for donations for baskets or other donations if you'd like to make those too. So that was the only announcement that I had. Anyone else? Okay. If there's no other announcements or anything, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Can I get a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions. The next meeting will be Thursday, April 18th at 6 p.m. in the third floor multipurpose room at the Bennington Firehouse. So thank you very much and have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.